Once again, good morning all. So we are going to start this morning presentation, the first sessions with Mrs. Oindemula Asaju. So you can listen attentively so that we can hear what she has for us. Meanwhile, if we have any question, comment, we can send it through chat. So you are welcome and you have a floor to start.
All right.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, everybody. Hope we had a good night and were able to learn extensively yesterday from the presentation from Dr. Helen and myself. It's good to be here again, very early, So today we'll be going through, it's quite a short lesson, we'll be going through agricultural value chain. Can you see my screen? I've just shared my screen. Agricultural value. And the outline of this lesson, we'll be looking at what agricultural chain is about. We'll be looking at the examples, some of the examples of agricultural value chain that we might have come across before, or the ones that we are going to learn newly about today. And we'll be looking at the importance of agricultural value chain. For in the last 10 years, so to speak, in the Nigerian agricultural scene, there has been this conversation of agricultural value chain. Let us diversify, let us develop the value chain of commodities. A lot of trainings, a lot of initiatives have been based on value chain. And then today we'll be looking at the importance of it. Why is everybody screaming agricultural value chain? What is the importance? What is the impact of the agricultural value chain on businesses, on smallholder farmers, and on the government as a whole? First, what is agricultural value chain? It's defined as the people and activities that bring a basic agricultural product that you're familiar with. Can be cassava, can be cocoa, can be oil palm, from obtaining inputs and production in the field to the consumer. Now, the stage between the farmer and the consumer, that middle ground, the way it moves from one particular chain to the other before it gets to the final consumer, is called the value chain. If you harvest cassava from the farm, for example, you cannot eat cassava directly. It has to go through certain processes. And you as a consumer might not be able to go to the farm gate to buy cassava because that is not what you want to eat. It's still a raw material, that's one. And two, you might not have the access to get to a farm gate. So the process between the farmer or the input supply, the farmer, to the direct consumer, to when it gets to your plate, there are different processes that particular product or produce from the farm goes through. That chain, that process is called the agricultural value chain. And it can be the processing, the packaging, the distribution, the transportation, whatever happens between the farmer and the consumer is the agricultural value chain. So I have a diagram here that shows what an agricultural value chain looks like. Some of us might be familiar with it, but I'd like us to go through this diagram together. Now, the input supply. The agricultural value chain makes us understand that you don't have to appear in every aspect of the value chain. You can decide to pick one and run with it. Wherever you find yourself on the value chain of a particular commodity is a business on its own. So now you can decide that, like somebody said yesterday, you want to go into the sales of chemicals. Where you come in now is the input supply. Input supply, that in its own is a business. You can decide not to go into primary production. You can decide not to go into processing. And you just fix your eyes on input supply. That in itself is a business. Sales of chemical is a business. That is an aspect of the agricultural value chain. Also, somebody yesterday spoke about Gary Plus, adding value to Gary. Now the Gary is there already. What you're trying to do is add value to it. If you look at this agricultural value chain, where you fall into now is the processing. And you are going into it because you realize that it is a business. That is an aspect. Now, processing is an aspect of the value chain itself. That alone is a business in itself. So you don't need to appear in supplying inputs. You don't need to be the primary producer. You are the one that is selling it. You are the one that is processing. No. You find an aspect of the value chain that you're interested in, that you have gained some experience in, that you have learned about, and then you channel it into a business. Because no matter how tiny that aspect of your agricultural value chain is, it is a business. So we have on this value chain now, you can see production. That's where we have the primary producers, the farmers themselves on the farm, who do the nursery, who do the planting, the maintenance of the farm, and then the harvest. Those are primary producers. They make money, the farmers make money from planting and harvesting. That in itself is a business. And that is why, if you look closely now, if you go back, you look at input supply. Now, the people on the production level, they added value to the input supply. It's just like when you are trying to make a pot of soup, you have your Maggi, you have your pepper, you have your salt. That is your input supply. Now you get those things from the market. The market woman that you get them from is the input supplier. You are the primary producer. You are the one that will put those ingredients together to make it a pot of soup. Just like the primary producers, they put the chemicals, the seeds, the fertilizer, everything, they put it together on the field to produce something, a commodity that is now available for local trade. Now, those people in the local trade, under the local trade, most times they call them middlemen. These middlemen now, they don't need to go into primary production. You can decide to be in charge of local trade. Be under the agricultural value of local trade, where you just pick up produce from the farmer and then you sell to other people. You sell to other people who want to process it, or you decide that you want to have a storage facility. Now that is a business on its own. You want to have a storage facility. A lot of farmers, storage is a very huge challenge for a lot of farmers. You can decide that I'm going to erect a storage facility in this farming community as a local trader. When farmers produce, they store their farm produce in your facility at a cost. Because sometimes farmers are not ready to sell at that time, maybe because of market glut, or they are waiting for a peak period or off-peak period, whatever the case may be, and they need somewhere to put their goods. So they come to your facility and they store it there, and then you say, okay, for the next 1 month, or you are going to charge them monthly or daily. However, it can be a cold storage facility where they can put their vegetables. It can be a dry storage facility where they can put their maize, they can put their soybean, and then you charge them. You charge them for storing their produce in your facility. Now, there's the aspect of packaging. You as a local trader, you can decide to go into packaging of farm produce. Maybe you produce bags. You produce 500 grams bags, you produce 10 grams bags, 1 kg bags, 5 kg bags. For those who are going into processing, that in itself is a business. Some people are in the processing, under the processing value chain, under the aspect of processing in the agricultural value chain, but that does not mean they are the ones who produce their packaging, who produce their branded nylons or their branded bags. There are people who produce it, and they fall under this local trade. If you understand what I'm talking about. They produce these bags, they brand it for processors and they sell to them. That in itself is a business. So you realize from where we are coming from, there is a business in every aspect of the value chain. And don't forget, you don't have to do everything. You can just pick one and then run with it. Now, there's quality tests. There are people that must test your product before you go and sell it to the public. There are people there are people maybe like NAFDAC or necessary bodies, that come. That's their own business. That is their own business. You pay them to check your products for maybe nutritive value, for maybe the quantity or the quality of the product. So those people, that is their own business on its own. Some people are nutritionists. Some people are government bodies. They fall under taking quality tests on your produce. That is a business on its own. Now we move to processing. Those who handle the post-harvest, the storage, which can also fall under the local trade, the shelling, depending on what commodity it is. Now, you as a local trader, you have bought something from the primary producer. You might not have a shelling equipment. You might not have a shelling equipment maybe for your rice or for whatever commodity you get from the primary producer. There are people who have shelling equipment. That is their business. You come to them with your produce, they shell it for you and they bag it for you, you take it, but you do that at a cost. So you see that the agricultural value chain is very rich. It's very rich, it's very diverse, and you just need to find a place where you key in. So you can decide to have equipment, it might be a drying equipment, it can be, a presser, it can be any type of equipment, you just have the equipment and people come to your facility to get these things done at a cost. That is a business on its own. You are not producing, you are not selling the produce. They are just coming to dry it or to shell it in your facility. So these are areas that you can key into. It can be roasting and packaging, like we've discussed earlier. For the person that is going into processing in this class, for example, you don't need to be the person that is producing the bags, as I said earlier. You don't need to be the person that is doing a lot of things. What you want to do is bag your products and add value to it. That is your own line. That does not mean that you cannot do 2 or 3 things in the agricultural value chain. It depends on your capacity, it depends on your experience, your expertise, what you are willing to do at that particular time, what your strength can take, or your team strength, what it can take. Then we have those who control the products that go into the market. It can be from the government bodies. Oh, we are encouraging rice farmers this year to go into production of maybe 80,000 metric tons of rice this year, and they are controlling the quality of the rice that comes in. Here, the government bodies can come in to say, this particular rice, this is the standard we want it to be. We don't want it to be brown. We want it to be a little bit of white and a little bit of brown. Quality control, just like we mentioned earlier. So they can appear before processing or after processing. It depends on the stage where the commodity is. And then we have the export. There are people, just like someone mentioned in this class yesterday, they are trying to go into the export of timber. It's a very fantastic idea. Export is a fantastic idea, just like every other aspect of the value chain. Now, when you want to go into it, there are people, there are bodies, just like Mr. Sadiq mentioned, I think yesterday, yesterday. He mentioned some bodies that are responsible for export in Nigeria. That is their own business. You pay for licenses, you pay for approvals and things like that. That is their own business. You are the exporter. It does not mean that you are the one that is going to create your own license for yourself. There are people responsible for that, and that is their own business. Now you Yours is to ensure that transport it to the port, it gets to the clients and things like that. Now, you as the exporter, you are not the owner of the ship. Just look at it. You are not the owner of the ship. A lot of times, you are not even the owner of the trailer that brings it from a particular location to the port. That is the business of some people. Transportation, shipping, or cargo flights. That is the business. You pay them to do that. Except one day you decide to own a ship, of course, why not? And then that is a business on its own. You are not just moving your goods now, you are moving the goods of other people who pay you to move your goods. So if you look closely at the agricultural value chain, there is a lot to be done. It's an inexhaustive list of businesses, a lot to be done. So you just pick your area of interest, develop it, and grow your business in it, because there's a need. There's a need for every aspect of the value chain. Don't try to do so much. Pick one thing, or you pick 2 or 3 things, and sync it with your business, and you are good to go. Now we have the local equipment suppliers and dealers. There are some people, what they do is to create maybe a smoking clean. Smoking clean is what you use to smoke fish. Sometimes some people import it, but there are local fabricators that do that. There are local fabricators of equipment here in Nigeria, in your communities. You might have seen them before. That is their own business. They don't want to go into primary production. They don't want to export. They just want to give you equipment for your business. That is what they do. And here we'll see the input distributors, just like we've seen, we've spoken about earlier, the seed producers. The seed producers, you might be familiar with some of them, the Syngentas of this world, the East-West seeds, a lot of them. They are seed producers. That is what they do. They produce seeds, and they make money from producing seeds. So have a quick look again before we move to the next slide of the agricultural value chain. It is very rich. You can decide to be a transporter. That is all you want to do. You want to help farmers to move their produce from the farm to the market, or from the farm to the consumer. That is a business alone on its own that you are going to make money from. So an agricultural value chain also poses opportunities. It's about opportunities. Where do you key into? Which opportunity do you develop and make a business? Okay, so industrial processors, small scale processors, exporters, wholesale dealers, traders, just like we mentioned earlier. So we're moving on to the next slide, where we'll be talking about examples of agricultural value chain. I've been able to list some examples of agricultural value chain, and you'll be seeing the diagrams of some of the opportunities in this specific agricultural value chain. There are different examples. These are just a few of them, because there are different commodities in agriculture, a lot of commodities in agriculture, but you might be familiar with some of the ones that are here, and then some of the agricultural value chain. Some of the aspects of this agricultural value chain. I want us to look at it together. Starting with cassava. As I said earlier, value chain, when you hear value chain, it's about opportunities. It's just about opportunities. What you can do with what you have, what you can do with a particular agricultural value chain. Here we have the diverse end users, and then we have, under that, we have the animal feeds. Cassava chips is used in producing animal feeds for poultry, fish, for livestock. So you now, as a business person, you can decide that what you want to produce is cassava chips. The cassava, the peels from cassava, some people throw it away. When they peel it, they want to do gari, they peel it off and they throw it away. That peel is used in the production of animal feeds. So you can decide to pack, you go to the factory, you go and pack the peels from those people that are peeling it for processing, and then you sell to people who produce animal feeds. That in itself is a business on its own. And we have the high quality cassava, the HQCF. This is quite a capital intensive business. You know, you have a factory, you have to install certain equipment. It's quite capital intensive. But assuming you have the opportunity to do that, and which there are people who are doing it already, the high quality cassava flour, because it's used in baking, the bread that you see today, the biscuit and all those things. Part of the flour that is used for this product comes from cassava, high quality cassava flour, high quality cassava flour. You know, used for bread, biscuits, snacks, pasta. So you can decide to be a distributor. You know, you just buy from those who produce and you bag it in your own name. I mean, you package it in your own name, Mr. Ali, high quality cassava flour. Excuse me. And then you begin to sell to bakers. You begin to sell to, you know, those who produce some of these things. We have the plywood too, the peels from cassava used to make plywood. You can be a supplier. Starch. A lot of us are familiar with starch. The starch, the edible starch and the non-edible starch, because now some of us from the south, notice that you eat starch, you know, as a swallow with soup. It's made from cassava. The starch is made from cassava. And then some of the starch that is not edible is used in textile, is used for adhesives, is used for paper. So you can decide that I want to be supplying starch to industries. That is the business I want to be doing. A lot of pharmaceuticals in Nigeria use starch. You cannot even do without it in pharmaceuticals. So you can decide that all I want to supply is starch. That is what I want to do. And then we look at ethanol. Cassava is used to produce ethanol. Cassava is used to produce ethanol. Ethanol is used for your methylated spirit, is used for your alcohol, that for beer, is used for a lot of things. Ethanol, alcohol that you see in your drinks and you see in your methylated spirit and all other type of medical products, you know. So you can decide that you want to be supplying an ethanol factory with cassava. An ethanol factory with cassava. There's an ethanol factory currently in Ondo State. I'm sure there are maybe 2 or 3 others in the country. And the thing about these factories is they never get enough supply. There is never enough supply. So if you want to supply these factories, you have to look at your capacity, you compare it with their own capacity. You can decide to join a cooperative that supplies this ethanol, this cassava to these ethanol factories. So these are areas that you can key in. Value chain is about opportunities. What are the available opportunities? Where can I key in? When you see value chain, when you hear value chain, what you should think about is the opportunities. We'll be moving on to the next slide, the cocoa value chain. The cocoa value chain. Now we have the production aspect. How many of us have seen a cocoa factory before? I saw one in 2019. Okay, yes, for the first time, and it's a beauty to behold. You know, the equipment, you know, the sorting when it goes up, and then they begin to separate the different products that comes from cocoa. It's a very fantastic thing to see. So you that wants to play in the value chain of cocoa, you can decide to pick any of these aspects of the value chain. You can decide to be a primary producer. You know, you have the crop, you cultivate it, you harvest it, you ferment, you dry, you sell it to somebody. And there are dealers too. You can decide that, let me buy cocoa from the primary producers. Let me buy and trade cocoa. You can trade locally, you can trade for export. There are people who export cocoa that are not the primary producers of that cocoa. They collect it from farmers or farm associations and they export or they trade locally. So you don't have to be a primary producer to trade in cocoa. You just need to understand the industry, understand the business, know your market. Those are the important things. And then there are people who store cocoa. Like we mentioned it earlier, there are people, what they have is warehouses. They just have a warehouse where farmers or traders store their cocoa. So all you need to have a storage facility is to make it conducive enough for that particular farm produce. You make it conducive enough for that farm produce so that when they keep their farm produce in your storage facility, it does not get bad. And then they pay you for it. In that way, you are not buying it, you are not trading it, and you are not producing it. What you are doing is you are just storing. So you can decide to have a warehouse. That is another business on its own. Then there's processing of it, roasting, the grinding, the pressing, and from this you can get cocoa butter, cocoa powder. You can even get the oil. You can get the oil from it. You can decide to buy the oil and package it, package it and put Mr. Ali cocoa butter, Mr. Ali cocoa powder, Mr. Ali cocoa oil. There are different, there are different things that you can do when it comes to the agricultural value chain, especially for talking about now. And then there's the chocolate manufacturing. There are people in Nigeria that manufacture chocolate already. There are not many, but chocolate is being manufactured in Nigeria. And some people export cocoa for chocolate manufacturers outside of Nigeria. So you can also serve as an exporter, you can serve as a distributor. And on the value chain, we also have the consumer. The consumer is also important in the value chain because without the consumer, I mean, who are you doing all of this for? Who are you producing for, really? Who are you marketing for? Who are you processing for? Who are you exporting it to? And when the client receives it in another country, who are they selling it to? So every aspect of the agricultural value chain is important. And we need to understand that farmers are important, but they are not more important than the processors. Processors are not more important than the farmers. Everybody is important on the value chain because we cannot do without each other. We really cannot do without each other. If the farmer decides to produce and there's nobody to eat it, the farmer is at a loss. If the consumer decides to eat and there's no farmer to produce the food, what happens? There becomes famine, there becomes hunger, there becomes, scarcity. So everybody is important on the value chain. Farmers are as equally important as the consumer, as the processor, or as the exporter. So nobody is more important than the other person. Equal importance across the agricultural value chain. So this is a diagram that shows areas. If you decide to go into the cocoa value chain today, these are areas that you can key into. The most important thing, as I said earlier, is to understand your industry. Understand the industry you are going into. Understand the peak periods, the off-peak periods. And I want to state here that the cocoa value chain is majorly controlled by foreign exchange. The cocoa industry is controlled by the foreign exchange. So the pricing is usually from the foreign exchange. So these are things you need to understand about any industry that you decide to go into. It's important. You don't just go into a business because it's profitable. Yes, it's profitable, but it might not be the season of profit. So there are a lot of things you need to understand when you are going into a business and even a particular aspect of the value chain. What are the conditions for the storage facility of cocoa? You need to understand that. When you are transporting the goods, how do you arrange the goods in the vehicle? There are just a lot of things that you need to understand. So always have a background knowledge of whatever aspect of the value chain that you decide to go into. So we'll look at the oil palm value chain. The oil palm value chain. Okay, so if you look closely, can you see my diagram? Okay, there are various aspects of the oil palm value chain. There are different places you can key into. And that is the beauty of agriculture. It is diverse, it is rich, it is filled with so many opportunities, depending on where you decide to play. Now, you can decide that you want to produce palm oil, what we use in cooking. You can decide that that is what you want to get out of your oil palm production. You can decide that it's just the kernel you want to produce, and then you want to sell it to somebody who is going to get a particular product from it. So there's the kernel, there's the shell, there's the fiber. The fiber that you get from the oil palm is used sometimes for cooking, for burning, for production of energy, you know, in some factories. They use the fiber of oil palm. If you maybe after this class you can get a picture of what the fiber that I'm talking about. It is used for energy, to produce energy in some factories. So in a case where you are not trying to use charcoal, you can use that fiber. You set it on fire and then it produces heat for whatever you are doing. It is used in a lot of industries. So some people who produce that, they remove it and they throw it away. You can decide that that particular fiber, that is what you want to take and you want to sell it to industries, to people who need it. It can be for local consumption, for household consumption too. It doesn't have to be for industries, depending on the scale with which you're trying to operate. There's the palm cake. You realize that oil palm is used to produce detergents. The crude from oil palm is used in the production of detergent. There are various products that you can get from the oil palm. There's the nut, you know, there's the sludge. The sludge is the floating oil, that one that does not come down. The floating oil is what we call the sludge, which is used in the production of soap and fertilizers. Who does not use soap? A lot of farmers use fertilizer. So these things are in demand. You just need to find a place where you fit into, and then you understand the market, the market strategy. You understand the industry of that particular aspect of the value chain that you want to go into. You can decide it's just palm oil that you want to go into, the sales of palm oil. You don't need to be a primary producer. You just need to get maybe a group of farmers or a farmer who produces it. You take it from the farmer, you bottle it, you know, you put Mr. Ali palm oil, and you are good to go. You are in business already. You just need to know your market. Now, let me quickly state here, this might not be a part of the value chain that we are discussing today, but before you go into any business, it has to be demand-driven. Demand-driven in the sense that you need to have a market for your produce before you go into production. You need to have a market for your produce before you go into production. No, having a market for your produce, it helps you to know when to produce, what to produce. I mean, the quality and the quantity. So you don't just produce and then you get stuck. There's nobody to sell it to. So when you are doing your feasibility studies, when you are trying to get into a business, try to ascertain who your market is, who you are trying to sell into. Yes, the business is profitable, but you need to identify your market. You need to identify your market. And when you identify your market, you cannot make assumptions that, okay, for example, we have 200 million Nigerians, then you now make an assumption that 200 million Nigerians eat rice. That's correct. But you also have to streamline that not 200 million Nigerians have the purchasing power for your produce. So these are things you should understand. Also, there are some produce that are not culturally accepted in some places. So these are things you need to consider. Who is your market? It's not 200 million Nigerians. You need to streamline. Is my produce culturally accepted in this place? Who are the people that have the purchasing power, that is the money to buy my produce. If there's a household of six, you have to understand that maybe only the parents are working. Only the parents actually have the purchasing power for your produce. So it is important for you to identify your market, know who you want to sell to. It can be in your local community, it can be in your neighborhood before you go into production, so that your produce doesn't go to waste. So let's take another look at the oil palm value chain. There are a lot of places you can key into: the palm fruit, the nuts, the fiber, the kernel, the oil, the shell. There are so many aspects of the oil palm value chain that you can key into. And then you can decide to be the primary producer. You can even decide to sell the seeds, the oil palm seeds, the seedlings, So there are various aspects that you can key into. Let's move quickly to the aquaculture value chain. The aquaculture value chain. Aquaculture means fish, aqua, water, fish. Okay, so now in the aquaculture value chain, you might not need to do everything. In fact, in every value chain, you don't need to do everything. Like I've been saying, you can decide that you want to produce the raw materials. What are the raw materials? The fingerlings. The fingerlings, maybe it's catfish you want to do, or tilapia. You can decide that what you want to sell is the fingerlings. It's just the fingerlings. That means that you have maybe a hatchery. A hatchery is where you grow the raw materials, which is the fingerlings, where you produce those ones, those tiny fingerlings that you see that become the big fish. So you can decide that you want to have a hatchery. That is all you want to do on the value chain. That in itself is a business. You can decide that you are not growing to table size. What you want to do is raise the fingerlings and sell to people. That is your own business. Now you can decide that you want to raise to smoking size. I mean, the smoked fish size. It has a size. It's not the same as the one that you eat in your pepper soup. The one in your pepper soup is usually bigger than the one that is smoked. So you can decide that I'm into the production of catfish, and then I want to raise it for just 3 to 4 months for those who smoke it. Now, your clients, your market is for the people that smoke fish. You raise it to a particular size, maybe 0.5 kg, 500 grams, and then you sell it to people who smoke the fish. Or you can decide that you want to raise it to 1 kg, 1.5 kg, 2 kg. You sell it to those who use the fish for pepper soup, who use the fish for grilling. So these are different aspects you can decide to key into in the aquaculture value chain. You can go into raw material processing. We have local production of feed. I remember some years back, I think in 2015 or 2016, I was on a team trying to produce locally made fish feed. We already had we had our business plan. We even already had some samples. It was time to scale that idea, but we did not have the funding, and that was the end of it. Do you understand? So in some of these things, I've been there before. You can decide that this is what you want to do. You want to produce fish feed. That is all you want to produce for local consumption and maybe for export as the time goes on. You can decide that you want to supply ponds, fish farmers with fish feed. That is your business on its own. You don't have to produce fish. You don't have to smoke the fish. What you want to do is to produce fish feed. Okay, so now you can decide that I don't want to produce the fish and I don't want to produce the feed, but I want to smoke the fish. You smoke fish, you brand it, Mr. Ali's smoked fish, delicious and spicy. That is a business on its own. So you can see now that the agricultural value chain is very rich. Every commodity in agriculture has a value chain which you can key into, and there are various aspects of it. So even in this value chain, what I have not mentioned so far is consultancy. You can decide to just be a consultant. That is your business. You know, people want to start a farm and they come to meet you. I want to start a farm in maybe cassava or something. And then you tell them, okay, this is how you go about it. You guide them through the production. No, you are not producing for them, but you are the consultant in charge of that particular farm. When there's a problem, they come to meet you. You can even go into the aspect of capacity development, you know, developing the capacity of people in agriculture. Maybe you like to talk, you like to train, you know, you develop the capacity of people in agriculture according to your own experience, the experience that you have gained so far. So there are various aspects of the agricultural value chain in every commodity. So I think the last one we'll be looking at is the poultry value chain. The poultry value chain. Somebody yesterday mentioned doing something in the poultry value chain, and then we have an example here that gives us an insight into what the poultry value chain looks like. This is the last value chain that we are looking at today. You can decide to be a farmer. You know, you rear the birds, and then people come to you to buy the eggs. Some come to buy the eggs for baking. Some come to buy the eggs for consumption. Some come to buy the eggs to resell. So those people who are coming to buy the eggs from you, that is another business on its own. You can decide to be an egg distributor. You can decide to be a baker, you know, where you get the raw materials, which is your egg, and you know, you produce something from it. You can decide to have eggs and brand your eggs, Mr. Ali eggs. We have the popular brands of Fortuna eggs. You know, there are a lot of popular brands of eggs locally made here in Nigeria, you know, and then you just brand it, Mr. Ali eggs, fresh and healthy, you know. And there's the aspect of the hatchery. What some people do is hatchery for poultry, where you get we call them the breeders. They have the hatchery where they produce the chicks that now become the big birds that we see, the broilers, the layers, and so on and so forth. There are people whose business is to hatch the eggs. So they have a hatchery, they have that facility where people come to buy chicks, and then they rear these chicks, or they sell to other people again. So there are various aspects of the value chain that you can key into. You can decide to be an input supplier. Maybe you want to be supplying poultry feed. You want to be in the hatchery. You want to sell eggs. You can even go into chicken. You know, you process the chicken, you defeather the chicken, then you cut them into pieces, and then you freeze them, and you name it Mr. Ali chicken, fresh and healthy. You know, these are various aspects that you can key into. You don't have to do it all. And you can decide to do logistics, to transport chicks. Now, in transporting chicks, in transporting birds, it requires expertise. It's not just anybody that can transport birds, because that is a business on its own. That's why sometimes you see that when people are transporting birds, the birds will die on the way, because somebody is not doing something. So you can decide that what you want to do, your business is that you have a good vehicle and you have the right expertise to transport birds. That is a business on its own. So we'll be moving to what the importance of agricultural value chain is. What's the importance? Why do people talk about agricultural value chain? Why has this been a conversation in the last 10 years in the agricultural industry of Nigeria? Now it helps for job creation. You'll see that we spoke about logistics, we spoke about processing, we spoke about input supply. At every point of the agricultural value chain, there are jobs to be created. You need somebody to transport the goods. You need somebody to add value. You need somebody to deliver the goods. You know, this is an aspect of, this is an importance of agricultural value chain. It helps to create jobs. That's why the government and the private sector is encouraging value chain. Let's diversify the particular commodity. What can we get from it? What can we get from it? If one person is doing input supply, and that person is doing primary production, and that person is doing marketing, before you know it, it has a ripple effect on job creation. That is why the agricultural value chain is very important, and it needs to be developed in Nigeria. I think that's why we have people like you that are trying to go into agribusiness in order to develop the agricultural value chain of Nigeria. So it helps for food security and poverty reduction. Food security and poverty reduction. When we have the farmer that is functioning in his own aspect of the value chain, we have the processor there. The processor ensures that this food does not go to waste, because when there is food wastage, there is a shortage of supply to consumers. There's a shortage of supply to demand. And so when the processors are there, they help to reduce this food wastage, they help to reduce post-harvest losses, and then we can have a food secure Nigeria. So that is why agricultural value chain is very important. It helps to reduce poverty, because when there's somebody to buy, when there's a marketer or a local trader to buy from the farmer, the farmer's livelihood is improved. There's somebody to buy from the farmer, there's somebody to buy from somebody on the agricultural value chain, and then that means income for that particular person. So poverty is reduced. The farmer now doesn't just produce for himself. The farmer is producing for local traders. The farmer is producing for exporters, and so on and so forth. So this helps to reduce poverty, and that is why it is important. Varied agricultural products. If you remember, when we're looking at the cocoa and oil palm, you see that from cocoa we get cocoa butter, we get oil from cocoa, we get cocoa powder, we get chocolate. So it helps to have varied agricultural products. You have a variety. You have so much to choose from. It's not just one whole thing, you know. So it helps higher financial returns. So sometimes when you produce your cassava, assuming you have your cassava, 1 ton of cassava, okay, let's say 4 tons of cassava, because 4 tons of cassava gives you 1 ton of gari. Now you produce 4 tons of cassava. 4 tons of cassava, let's assume the cost of a ton of cassava is 20,000 naira now. So that's 80,000 naira. So you sell at 80,000 naira. Now look at it if you decide to produce a ton of gari. If you decide to produce a ton of gari from that 4 tons of cassava. Now you are saying maybe you decide to sell a kg of your gari, maybe 150 naira. Multiply that by 1 ton. It will give you 150,000 naira. So that is why the agricultural value chain increases financial returns when you add value to a particular commodity. Now, the sales of fresh fish is different from the sales of processed fish, the smoked fish, or your fish fillet. So it helps higher returns. That is why it is very important. It helps to develop infrastructure. It helps to develop infrastructure. You know, when there is a need to transport goods from point A to point B, that means we need to fix our farm roads. When there is a need to store commodities, that means we need to fix our power. We need to fix electricity. So when there are operations on the agricultural value chain, it develops infrastructure indirectly, because it means that the industries need to function. It means that agriculture needs to be industrialized, because you are going through through a value chain of a particular commodity. Then it facilitates agricultural innovation. You know, you can be trying to produce, there are times where you are trying to produce a particular commodity. Maybe you are trying to add value, maybe to soybean. And then at the end of the day, instead of producing soy milk, you get another product. And then that becomes an innovation in itself. So you know that you get soy milk from soybean. So these are some of the critical, the vitals of the agricultural value chain, the importance of it. It facilitates agricultural innovation. Somebody somewhere is trying to develop something because we're trying to develop the value chain. Then it drives commercial agriculture. In the last 10 to 15 years, a lot of subsistence farmers have moved into commercial agriculture. They don't produce for themselves or their families alone anymore. Now they are doing it as a business because there's something to be done. There's value to be added. Okay, so also it helps for economic growth. When there is industrialization in agriculture, it increases our GDP. It increases our trade relations internationally. So it is an opportunity for economic growth. So when you as a farmer, you're trying to produce, or you as a processor, you're trying to add value, or you as a marketer, you're trying to encourage local trade, it helps to develop the economy. It helps to develop local trade. It helps to boost the GDP. And so these are the various importance of the agricultural value chain: job creation, food security, varied agricultural products, higher financial returns, developed infrastructure. It facilitates agricultural innovation, drives commercial agriculture, and opportunity for economic growth. So I'll stop here for today and then move to quick discussion. This is the last slide on the presentation. Quick discussion. So from what we have discussed, you might have seen where you belong in a particular value chain. So I'm asking now, which value chain does your business idea belong? And then describe the value chain of your business. This will help you to have an idea of the value chain that you are operating, where your business is. So over to you. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Oyindamola Asaju, for your wonderful and impactful presentations. I'm sure that we have all learned a lot of things from your presentation in the area of agriculture value change. So let's listen to the participant if they can respond to this quick discussion so that we can have another insight on what you intend to impact on all of us. So let me start with Anthony. Anthony.
Hello, good morning, sir.
Good morning, how are you?
Good morning.
I'm fine, sir.
I'm sure that you can see the last slides.
Yes, sir.
And we all know the value change that you have belonged to. I am sure that it is under timber.
Yes, sir.
So those respond to the second discussion. Describe the value chain of your business.
Okay. From the teaching we just received, was a very nice lecture. So from there, I can see that the value chain of my timber exporting business will include processing the timber, that is job creation. It will create job for the people at the sawmill.
Yeah.
Transportation, moving the timbers from the forest to the sawmill. It will also create job for those transporting it. Then the people in the forest doing the lumberjacks cutting the trees. It is also job creation for them. Then the Ogun State Forestry Department, where I will have to pay for clearance. It will also be a source of revenue for the government.
Yes.
Then moving it from that sawmill to the ship port is also a source of job creation and empowerment for the transportation sector.
Yes.
So I believe it's quite inexplicable, though. It's a whole lot of process, and I'm learning more. I can even collaborate with other farmers and even go into crop exploitation too, aside from the timber that I have in mind. So the class is quite good. It's quite good. I'm learning a lot from it.
Okay.
I don't know if the answer is correct, but I believe I learned so much from the class.
You are very correct. You are very correct.
Wow, wow.
Yes, you are very
Wow.
correct. You've just described the value chain. You understand that it comes from the lumber, it goes to those who are going to, break it up, and, the people at the sawmill, and those who will move it from that sawmill to the ship. And then you are also paying some government bodies for licenses, for approvals, and that's a source of revenue. You have just described the value chain of your business, and that's fantastic. So it shows you understand the class. Well done.
Wow, you taught us well.
So, yeah, but me, I am having some worry over his business because we are talking about sustainable business in line with what is obtainable now. So how did he plan, or how did you suggest the ways he's supposed to do in order to sustain his business? Because we know the cutting trees is causing a lot of problem to our environment generally. And we are talking about sustainable business. So what did you going to respond to this kind of comment or observations?
Yes, we are having the challenge of climate change right now, and his business would mean deforestation. That's reducing the number of trees that we already have in our forest. The truth of the matter is we cannot stop producing furniture. You and I would need furniture. You and I would need the products that come from wood. What we need to do is to plant more trees. And then we have to regulate the number of trees that go out of our forest per annum. These things need to be regulated. I don't think it is in Mr. Anthony's place now to regulate the number of trees. Once the government body say, this only 50 trees go out of the forest this year, Mr. Anthony has no other choice than to abide by that. And then we need to encourage planting more trees. This needs to be encouraged. Apart from reducing the number of trees in our forest, which helps, it helps oxygen, it helps our climate, there are a whole lot of advantages of having trees, but we cannot stop producing furniture. So it's important that the necessary parastatals, the necessary bodies impose the planting of trees. We must plant trees. It's very important to populate our forest.
You're correct, ma'am. I think there's a bill going on now that for you to cut down any tree, you have to plant 5 different trees.
Great, great.
Yes.
That is how we can sustain this kind of business. Yes.
Yes, because this goes in line with the Sustainable Development Goal 12, which talks about responsible productions and consumption. So if you cut 1 and plant 5, at least you are doing something in order to take care of our environment in totality.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Great.
Excuse me.
Is Rafu here? Which value chain does your business idea belong? You just want to be sure that you...
Okay, my business idea fall in process value chain. And in doing that,
Mr. Sadiq, please, can you help us mute your mic?
Sorry.
Please. Okay. Rafi, please go on.
No, not really.
Rafi, please go on. We can't hear you. Oh, I think it's the network.
It's the network.
I believe agricultural innovation.
Okay.
Hello?
Okay, please go on.
Hello?
Yes, please go on. We can hear you.
Okay, my network. Okay. My business fall between agro processing, and in doing that, I will also be encouraging agricultural innovation. as well as preventing post-effect losses of farmers. I think that is where my business fall into.
So in describing the value chain of your business, where does it start from and how does it get to you? How does it lead your own point?
Okay, what I intend to do is getting the produce from the farmer, then go through quality assessment, then afterward get the proper certification, and then try to look at the packaging, as Riley said, and the value chain. So after that, then try to take it to the consumers as well. I think that is basically what's the description of the kind of business I want to partake in.
Yes, you are right. And you are very, very correct. You have just described your value chain. I want to add something to the aspect of certification. Now, when you begin the process of your certification, it might take a while. It might take a while before the certification comes because there are conditions attached. Maybe you need to have a certain facility and maybe you don't have that now. Don't stop producing. Don't stop producing. Continue, because you need to show traction at some point. What is important for you is that you already have a sample test. You already have a sample test from people who have said, oh, this product is good. Oh, this product, this is where you should improve on. But the fact that you don't have maybe a NAFDAC approval does not mean that you should stop producing. But be sure that your product is healthy for consumption. You can take it to a lab. There are labs that check for nutritive value, that check for quality, you know, before your maybe your NAFDAC certification comes. So that should not hinder your production. That should not stop you from selling your product, but make sure you are on your certification. Make sure you are going through the process. Make sure that you have started the process and then you're on the way to get certified. Okay, I just wanted to keep that in. Well done.
Thank you.
Okay, who else is in the class?
So, Abalaka Usman.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Can you respond to the quick discussions questions?
And yes, sir.
All right, go ahead.
The lecture on evaluation is a very wonderful and lecture.
Thank you.
And in my area of specialization, my area of studying of my business line, selling of fertilizer and chemical, the value chain in area of selling of fertilizer and chemical is very advantage to farmers by create awareness by the farmers, calling the farmers, introducing your chemical period of using the fertilizers. You create awareness, calling the farmers, telling them about your product, period of applying all those chemicals. These are my value chain.
Great. I think what you're also trying to say is that your business helps to create extension services. So you are not just selling your chemicals and your fertilizers to the farmer. You are also teaching them how to use that particular fertilizer for a commodity, for a produce on the farm and things like that. So you are going beyond sales. You are also adding the service of extension, extension services that can be provided to farmers. And I think that's a fantastic idea. So be sure that as a business person, be sure that you are monetizing it. Be sure that you are monetizing this particular service, because extension service is a different business from the sales of chemicals. Extension service is like consultancy. You know this thing, and people are asking you, how do I go about it? So as a business person, it's important that you understand how to monetize your services. You don't give your services for free, except in cases that you are trying to build, maybe build a following, build a network, which shouldn't last for a long period of time. You go back again to monetizing it. So your business falls under the input supply aspect of the value chain. Input supply. You are supplying input to farmers who are the primary producers of this commodity. So yes, well done. You understand this topic. Do we have any other?
So I think we should hand over to Dr. Helen Young to take the floor so that we can hear from her own side. Before we come back, you can reserve your questions if you have so that we can entertain it later. Ma, you have a floor now.
Okay, sir. Good morning, all.
Good morning,
Good morning, Ma.
Good morning, ma'am.
In fact, I must commend Ms. Asaju for the wonderful presentation. She has done very wonderfully, very well. So what I want to also add to the trainees is that value chain is very, very important in one's business. And you don't need to neglect it because it will help you in a long way. And then hello?
We can hear you.
Yes, we can hear you.
We can hear you.
There are various reasons. It's not. Hello?
We can hear you. So we can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. So there are various reasons why there is need for value change. So the main reason is of value change analysis is to increase production efficiency so that companies, and that is you as an agro dealer, will be able to deliver maximum value with the various minimum costs. It helps you to maximize your profits and reduce your costs. Another reason why we should also embrace value change is that to help you understand that is the trend or the industry, and also identify change agents, and then leverage your points for policy and technical intervention. So by the time you have a value change, at least you'll be able to, once people know that your business is much better, there are strategies you put in place to be able to compete favorably with others, then you will stand to gain better. Before you know it, people will look for you. You are not the one looking for people this time around, but people will look for you. And then this also will bring room to investors. Those people that know that you are really doing well, they want to invest on your enterprise. So that is why we should involve on value change. Then there are also components of value change, activities involved in value change, which also like when this person talks about Porter, who happens to be the pioneer user of value change. He talks about two categories of activities that help to change his business, which is the primary and support activities. When we talked about the primary activities, It consists of 5 components, and all are essential for adding value and created competitive advantage. So let us look at these primary values or activities. So the primary activities, well, I don't need to use the screen since unless, sorry, to share the screen. Do I need to share it? Hello? Do I need to share the screen?
It depends on
Yes,
you.
you can
It
go
depends
ahead
on
so that
you.
we
You can
can
share,
learn
you
more.
can
Okay.
from them, so you can see it, man.
Okay, no problem. Okay, I believe my colleague has already defined what value change is. I will not go into it. So we talked about needs, value, that is why value change analysis, why value change analysis, why should we go into it? The main purpose of the value change analysis is to increase production efficiency so that the company can deliver maximum value for the least possible cost. Then the next one is that value change analysis is a useful analytical tool that help understand the overall strength of industry reorganization and identify agents and leverage points for value and technical intervention. So looking at this, we know that when value change is involved, it will help you to reorganize and then identify change agents who help in bringing out the business or helping you to make the business much better. Then it is also increasingly used by donors. Donors, those people that want to donate to your business and also assist you, who wants to see what you are capable of doing. So for that reason, there is need for value change. Then value change analysis is the process of breaking a change into its constituent parts in order to better understand its structure and functioning. It helps you to function well. And then let us also look at the components of value change. Like I said, that the first person that operates or dwell into value change is a porter. Porter splits his own business into 2 activities, such as primary and support. So looking at the primary activities consist of 5 components, and all are essential for adding values and creating competitive advantage. Then these components are inbound logistics, which include functions like receiving, warehousing, and managing inventories. So those are the things that you have inbound in you that will make your business to be striving better. As an agro dealer, you must have a warehousing where you stock your goods, your commodities before it is being distributed to those that needs it. And then you will be able to manage, like yesterday when we talked about management, financial management and what, then you should be able to manage your business properly, and then you will take stock of what you have so that, and make sure that record is being kept so that you'll be able to realize whether you are making progress or not. Then operation. Operation includes procedures for converting raw materials into finished products. Like those that want to go into processing, you need this. Those that want to go into processing, you need this to be able to, those that want to go into processing of this business, you need an expert to help you process it, because man, like what we said yesterday, we need organizational structure to be able to divide your that is crude or dry, your processes into different units. This will do this, this will do this, so for proper coordination. And then we are also talking about the outbound logistic, which includes activities to distribute a final product to the consumers. That is those your marketing agents, people that will help you to take, you need the transporters as well to help you to be able to distribute your goods into various destination. Then marketing and sales include strategies to enhance visibility and target opportunities. So you must know your market strategies. You must put them in place, and you must also know your target agents who will help you, whom you are after production. You don't need to start running to whom will I supply this to. Before the production, you get to know whom you are going to produce to. Then still under primary activities, we talked about these programs to maintain products and enhance consumer experience, like customer service, maintenance, repairs. So you must also render services to the customers, such as repairs of their machineries if you are going into input services, especially as the example, machines, giving them hiring of tractors and what have you. You must be able to also repair this, and also you must be able to also educate your consumers on what needs to be done, what they should do in case there is problem in whatever they have gotten from you. Then we also have to look at the second one, that is support activities. Support activities is the rule of support activities is to help make primary activities more efficient. When you increase the efficiency of any of these 4 activities, it benefits at least one of the 5 primary activities. These activities include procurement. This concerns how companies obtain their raw materials. As a good agri-dealer, you don't need to stand on this road and then get your raw materials. You must go to the interior. You must go to the villages to get your farm produce that will enable you to produce at the various minimum cost. Then technological development. So you also have to make firm research, and then development stage, like designing and developing manufacturing techniques and automatic processes. You will not need to be static. You must be somebody that is make a lot of research to be able to know follow the trend of events, the changes around, the new techniques that can be used for production or delivering of any services you need to do. Then when we also come to the human resources, when we talked about human resources management, it all involves hiring, retaining employers who will fulfill the firm business strategies. You must, when you are employing, you must make sure that you look for capable hands, credible hands that will help you to actualize your visions, your goals of going into such business. And then we look at the infrastructures also. This includes company system and compositions, its management teams such as planning, accounting, financing, and quality control. So all these things has to be put in place when you are embarking on business activities. And then having looked at this, this is one of the examples of value change. One trader, Joe's trader, who happens to embrace all these inbound logistics, operations, outbound logistics, and others in order to actualize his goal. Then we have to also look at the key points These are the key points that one should take home. The key points you should take home is that a value change is a step-by-step business model for transforming a product or service from idea to reality. A value change helps increase business efficiency in the business cost, in the business, and also you can also deliver the most value for the least possible cost. It also ends the goal of value change. That is, the end goal of value change is to create a competitive advantage for a company while keeping costs reasonable. The value change theory analyzes firm, that is the firm's 5 activities and 4 supportive activities. So this is all about the value change. And then please, you take this, we'll discuss. These are the itemized, the discussion is that itemize the activities involved in the value change in any of the agro dealers' business of your choice. So I think that is the little I have to add to the list very much. So we now discuss fully now.
Thank you very much, Ma, with this added value to the presentations. We really have more to learn from what you have said. And let's wait for the trainees for them to respond. Meanwhile, while they are confirming their things, let me ask this question, Ma. When someone wants to site or look for a warehouse, what are the things as an agro dealer that he's supposed to consider when looking for a warehouse where he can keep all product?
When you are looking for a warehouse where you can store your products, the first thing that you consider in mind is accessibility. Is the locations of your warehouse, is it accessible for people, for the distributors to come and get whatever they need from you and then now go to distribute to the consumers or those that needed them? That is one key thing you have to think about it. And also who talks about proximity. Is your warehouse in a location where people will not find it difficult to trace you? Or is it located in a place where you also find it difficult to get to your source of materials or the market? So you should put all these things into places. Accessibility, proximity, and then is your warehouse, because if you happen to maybe have a warehouse in a crisis-prone area, you should also consider those areas, because you may end up losing everything within a twinkle of an eye in the case of a crisis breakout. So you should think of those things. As an entrepreneur, you must consider so many things put in place: accessibility, proximity, and then a peaceful environment before. And then you also have to talk about if your warehouse is maybe something that needs if it is something that if your warehouse is located in a place where people that is completely out of town, you may also, that is all about the proximity, you may also find it difficult to, people will find it difficult to trace you. And then you should also make sure that the description, it is also located where there is, you can describe, this is, you come here, and then this is where you can get me. So those are the things you should put in place, because sometimes there are some places you locate a warehouse and then you not see even a single person to buy from you. So I think that is those things you should put in place. Thank you. I don't know if Ms. Asaju also have anything to add to that.
Okay.
Do you have
Yes,
anything
ma'am.
to add?
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am. I totally agree with what you said. Accessibility is very important. Don't forget the accessibility is not for the farmers now, but for the people who are coming to buy from the warehouse. And depending on the commodity, you have to check for the electricity in that area. If it is a cold storage facility, you need to be sure that the electricity in that area is fair enough, and then if you at all you support with generator, it will not be too much.
Yes, yes.
So these are things that you need to check: accessibility, the road accessibility, and then the power. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the
Thank you
addition.
very much for your contribution. So let's go back to that question the doctor has asked. Rafiu, have you itemized your Rafiu?
Yeah, I'm with you. Sir.
Have you itemized the activities involved in the value chain in any of the agro dealer business of your choice?
Yes, I have ideas, sir.
So let's have it so that we can be able to discuss.
As I've already explained earlier, sir. Hello.
Yes. Go ahead.
What I can do on the processing agricultural value chain, what I can use is I need to get first will be to get the right quality of cassava variety in my business. Then the other product I want to another product I want to add into.
Get the question. Excuse me. You have to get the question right, because these are some of the areas that when you went for your proposal defense, they are going to ask you. What we mean by your itemized, we are expecting you to say that this is number 1, number 2, number 3, and what have you. These are the items that are related to the agro dealer of your choice. Your choice suppose assumed to be your area of your interest, where you want to establish your business in, so that you are in a better position now to ask. If you are right, they will reaffirm. If there is something that you need to incorporate in, they can be able to correct it for you, so that you can enrich your business plan. So what did you think are the things that are necessary involved in the value chain of your business or of your intended business plan?
Okay, I'm not ready for that now, please. I will come back to that, sir.
So we'll get back to you later.
Probably I've not gotten the question right, sir.
So what of now? Are you cleared, or you need more clarification so that doctor can clarify it for you now? Please, Mark, can you clarify the question for them so that they can get it better?
Okay, what I am saying is that you should list out. What I'm saying that you should list out the activities involved in the value chain in any of the agro dealers business of your choice. Anyone, if you want to go into processing, what are the activities involved as far as value chain is concerned?
Yeah, that's what I've started explaining, but the moderator said that is not the question being asked. So I started by saying the first thing, the first item is getting the right variety of the raw material needed for the production. And secondly is to get the right technological inputs, which are the machinery that I need for the production, and also get the right human resources I think those are the and again the marketing strategy to be adopted is also part of the items I think I need in the processing agricultural pollutions. Ma. Okay.
Hello, ma.
Have I answered the question, ma?
Abalakada Usman.
Hello?
What we want from you is just to itemize the activities involved in the agro-business dealership that you want to enter. What and what? From what doctor has explained just now, you can be able to know that these are the things you require as your primary and supportive activities. You need to keep them down. You can write A, B, C, D, E, F, and Z. So because you need to know what are you planning to do, how did you plan to do it, and what did you require, and how did you intend to achieve your own targets. So by now, I think you're supposed to have to put some certain things in place, because this shows that your readiness, you are ready to do the business. Because otherwise, you cannot be able to compose a detailed business plan that will guide your activities.
Okay.
So what did you have for now?
Yeah.
With regards to what you intend to do? Just tell us you are planning to do A, B, C, D up to Z, so that we can know that you really understand the lecture very well.
Yeah, okay. So in my business plan, in the area of in my business, selling of fertilizer and chemical. Initially, you get the area of your business place where you get reach to the farmers. People will supply business and your chemical, your fertilizer to them before you go and get your product from a renowned company where you get your goods from them before you be selling it to the customers, to the farmers.
Okay, it is only two things that you required.
And also, I have did my feasibility studies where I can be able to sell my product.
Okay, 3. Apart from location, sourcing the product, feasibility analysis, any other things that you required for this business?
There's no any other much.
So let's hear from doctor to respond.
You said you are going to fertilizer distribution, isn't it?
And chemicals.
Okay, fertilizer and chemical.
Yeah.
So the first thing you need is where to store these materials when you get it. And having where to store this material, it must be accessible. It must be where people will be able to locate you. And then the next thing you need is how you'll be able to, since your own is not processing, the next thing you need is the activities that will help you. Those things that will help you to be able to distribute this. You may need, if you are not maybe so buoyant, I may not ask you to get a vehicle. At least you may have something that will help you to go to interiors, just like this keke, tractor, or whatever. Or you have a driver, a standby driver that anytime you call, please, I want to go and distribute my goods to the farmers? Can you, because there are also transporters that are also dealing on agro business, agricultural products. You call them, make them your regular driver. Once you want to go, you call the person. So that distribution of these chemicals will not be difficult for you. Then the next thing you have to talk about is other market strategies. Who are the markets? Where is the market? Who are the source of your market? Or sorry, where is the source of your market and who are your target markets? If you are dealing with fertilizer, your target market is the farmers. So, and then you don't need to go to maybe a farmer in one location. You will have to extend your tentacles and then make sure that you go to different farmers. Taking, for example, if you are in Akwa Ibom here, where I am, you can make sure that you explore all the local government areas in Akwa Ibom, looking for farmers to sell. Even if you have to make sure that you create awareness, that is a strategy. Advertise your goods and then either through internet or any other media, mass media communication, as well as you doing face-to-face advertisement as well. That you say, when somebody says seeing is believing, for the fact that farmers that is being illiterate, they want to see you. It won't cost you anything to go there. That is market strategy. Tell them about, this is what I have for you. If you do this, if you take this, this is what will happen. And then before you know it, you have already markets already. So then give them your contacts. Whenever they need you, they will call you. So please, I need so and so things. You now go. That is the market strategy you should put in place. And then another thing is the service. Inputs. We are talking about farm inputs. You cannot just go and give a farmer a bottle of a bottle of herbicide, just like that, and then go. You will help him to destroy all the farm or all the plants he has planted. You will tell him, this herbicide is for broadleaf. This is broadleaf for broadleaf. And then there are different herbicides. And this is how you should apply. When you sell, you plant something like maybe syrup, like rice, corn, don't apply it, it will kill it. Or this is how you should put it. Or you need to put it before, apply this herbicide before, you have to apply this herbicide dilute it with water, because if you apply it raw, it will make sure that everything is gone. So those are the things you have to advise them. That is the services you need to render to them. The services that you need to render to them is to give them the instruction of how to apply, even fertilizer. You need to tell them how to apply the fertilizer, time of application of this fertilizer. Because some of them being illiterate, they will just buy it and then put it because I bought it. Let me just put it. And then the methods of application must also be put in place. That is the services you render to them. In these services, since you are the one that sells this input, you don't need anything from them. Just render it to them. That's an addition that you should give to them to be able to help them come out with high productivity, high yield. Then that is all about the primary activities in inputs dealers. So the next thing is you also look at where to source or where to get these inputs. You don't need to go to the market and then get it from these petty traders or retailers. You go straight to the manufacturers. Since you are going to sell it in bulk, you go there, get in bulk from them, store them in your warehouse, and then distribute it to the retailers as well as the consumers or the farmers themselves. The next thing is technical know-how, technological development. Like I said, you should cultivate a habit of researching. Read wider so that you'll be able to know the latest pesticides, the latest herbicides, the latest chemicals that can make crop production better. Then even animals, those animals pesticide that they can also do for that is for outward applications. Since you are dealing with inputs, you should make sure that you make research to get the latest one, because if you give them the best, they will continue to patronize you. And that is how you now sustain your business. Then coming to human resources, you cannot do this work alone. If you really want to expand, you need somebody to help you. And make sure that when you are employ people that are not knowledgeable. If you are not there, the person will be able to tell whoever that comes to buy in your company. Give them the direction on how to use this chemical. Don't just employ somebody that, take. How did you use it? I don't know. No, employ somebody that at least can read and write. Somebody that will be able to read the directions there and then tell the farmers, this is what you should do in order to make these inputs effective. Then there's employ people that will help you. For in case of maybe marketers, you may have a sales agent. Employ people that will have that strategies, that have this marketing strategy, that has inborn talent on how to convince customers to get their products. Those are the people that you need to help you in the course of your business. Then when we talk about infrastructures, what are those things to put in place? Yes, you have already a warehouse. That is not all enough. Like my colleague rightly contributes, if you want to, there are some chemicals that don't need to be exposed or made to be exposed to heat. You should have something like maybe air conditioners to make sure that these chemicals are placed under a cool environment or under a little bit below room temperature. So those are the things you should put in place. Those chemicals that need application with machineries, you need to have them so that your work will be effective. And also, you must have planning, have a good knowledge of business planning, business management. You must also have a good knowledge that is, you'll be able to accountable, that is accountability. Make sure that you will be able to give accounts of day-to-day activities of your business. And also you will be able to manage your finance well. You don't spend, and then you don't need to buy anything. Being an agro dealer, there are some inputs you don't need. Select those ones that are good, that you know that it will be effective, that when you sell them, at least the farmers will also have a good impact, a good result. You don't just buy because this one is cheap, let me buy. When that one is cheap, how are you sure that it will be effective in what they intend to use it for? Buy good things, buy good agrochemicals, buy good inputs, even though you may need to add a little money to it. But by the time these people use it and they're effective, they won't complain that it's expensive. So spend the money to buy what is good for your customers, for the farmers. And then you must also have control quality. Control quality. Make sure that the quality of whatever you sell, it is good, not adulterated, not expired input. expired chemical. Please, once your chemicals is expired, discard them. Don't sell it to them. Because if you sell it to them, it will end up destroying their farms or their animals. I think, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ma. Mrs. Asaju, do you have something to add? Okay.
No, nothing to add. Thank you.
Thank you. So, Anthony, let's hear from your own side. Hello, Anthony. Anthony Bosa, are you with us? Okay. So tell us the items that that you have come up with in the value chain of the agro dealership you want to enter. Can you itemize them for us? Can you itemize the activities involved in the value chain of your business?
Yes, sir.
In my project, I have one challenge, ma. One challenge. The products to get the raw materials of two different crops. One is grown in southern part of Nigeria, while the other one is grown in the northern part of Nigeria. So my question now is, do you have any suggestion where such facility can be situated? That's my first question, ma. The second question is it advisable that when one, as a market strategy, is it economically advisable that one gives sample of the product to the consumers? That is my second question, ma'am.
Very good. Okay. I think let me start from the last question.
Yes, ma'am.
Is it advisable that one should give a sample of the products to the customers? Very good. That is a market strategy. If it's something, what do you intend to go on? Is it distributions or processing?
It's processing, ma'am.
Processing, yes. For example, what do you intend to produce?
I call it Gary Plus. It's an improved Gary. Gary
Very
Plus.
good. Gary Plus.
Yes, ma'am.
Very good. You can give. Get it. Then please, this is, in fact, when you are going, that's market strategies. When you are going for creation of awareness, you go along with it, small sample of it. I am into this. And then you also have to make sure you have a knowledge of the nutritional value of that product. Since it's going to be consumable, you have a knowledge of that, knowledge of nutritional value of that product. And then before you leave, say, madam, well, this one, I just want to give you, sir, I want you to taste this. And then by the time you give them, they taste it. Once they taste it, that, hey, this is good, oh, please bring more for me. I need more. That is how you sell. You don't just advise them and then you go with their thing. How would they patronize you when they don't even know what you are talking about or have a taste of what you are talking about? Then the second one is you want to source your raw materials in two places. Is that, please, on your audio so that we can talk? You can answer my question.
I was having network, but I'm back now, ma'am.
Okay. So what I'm saying, that you say you want to source your raw materials in 2 areas, isn't it?
No, ma. The two material, one is grown in the north, while the other one is grown in the south.
Okay, one is grown in, which one is grown in the north?
The one of the items is soybeans. It's grown majorly
in the north.
And then one cassava is grown in the south, majorly.
Okay. Do you intend to mix them together?
Yeah,
so,
it goes through different processes, but we incorporate them together at the
okay, to give you very good.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. At least you have one around the one you have in the north here. That's how you'll be able to source it. You go to the north, to the source of supply, to the market. Or if you don't know the available markets there, what you need to do is to have an agent that will help you collect these goods from the farmers. And then you pay them, stand in for you, gather the goods, you also pay them. By the time you come, you give them what they need as services, the services rendered to you. And then those ones, I believe you are from the north, am I correct?
I'm from the south, ma'am.
Okay, from the south, okay. Then in the south, where you can be able to access some of those things, but there are some places in the south that you cannot access them. So you have to also have an agent to help you gather those things. Once they are ready, you go and pick them. But you make sure that those materials, raw materials they will get from you, should be from the farm gate, because that is where you'll be able to get them cheaper. Should be from the farm gate, from the farmers directly. I know even if their agents will want to add something, he may not add so much. Yes. I hope I've answered your question. And then you yourself, from time to time, there is nothing bad about you going to that place, going to the north to see where this person always get that thing from you. Buy it yourself sometimes, and then where you cannot go, you tell him, please, because if you don't go and know what is going on, I bet you they will cheat you. But if they know that you know where you can get those things and the amount that those things are being sold, they will not cheat you.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
All right.
Yes. Ma, I think this has to do also with the organizational structure of the business plan, because I'm sure that he cannot be able to do everything in the business. You need to employ the services of others to take part in the business so that you can know what is going on. And you as the CEO, you have greater insight of what is going on. You can assign some, as she rightly put it, as your agent, so that they can go into the various places to source the materials for you. So Anthony, are you back?
Right, thank you very much, sir.
You're welcome. Anthony, are you back?
Extend your tentacles. If you are staying in the metropolis, make sure that you visit other local government areas and even go to the remote parts of the village. That is where you'll be able to make more sales, in the village, not even in the town, where so many things, everybody, you enter the shop, you get what you want. So devise a multiple markets effort so that you'll be able to break through in business. But if you are a lazy type, you'll not be able to break through. That if they don't come and buy here, let them forget it. Hey, you know, make that money, the money where you want get plenty, you won't be able to get it. So make sure that you go a long way, make more efforts to make more sales. The last, but not the least mistake, sorry, the second to the last mistakes is these people have no systems in place. They don't have their system of business. They lack knowledge of the ones. They lack knowledge of what they do. And they are doing, they will not be able to make elsewhere. So what they need to do, having knowing this, you must identify the decision points of the buyers in the selling process. What are their decisions? What do they want? Identify it. And then key in towards that. And then make a script of word which will be used to get the buyer to each decision point. You can maybe give them flyers. Get small flyers. Go to them, this is, I have so and so. Please, this is my flyer. This is my business location, and this is how you'll be able to get me. And then not only that, you can also use mass media. That is, puts everything in place. Then also, in the course of these scripts you make, you also create various materials to be used with the scripts. Use various materials. Get to them, show them what you can make, that you can be good of. And then, before you know it, they will come to you. They will give them their contacts. Wherever you go, give them their contacts. If they cannot come, they will call you. So please, I need so and so items. Bring it. Those are the things you should put in place, the system you need to put in place. Then the last one, that is the number 7 mistakes people do in business, is they don't hire effective, capable, and they don't have that motivated employers. Like I have said earlier about your employees, make sure that you employ people that are not money conscious. Employ people that also actually determined to succeed in life. Because if somebody determined to succeed in life, he will not, especially in a private organization, that person will not be a servant forever. Employ people that will work hard in order at the end of it, work hard, know what you are doing, want knowledge, because by the time they at least they have that knowledge too, you too, being a good manager, general manager, you may also say, this person has served me for so long, and it's a very faithful person. Let me settle this person. Make sure that you employ credible people, hire effective staff, capable hands to help you. And then those people that have that motivation to work harder. And in the course of it, you too, on your part, as an employer, don't fail to motivate your staff. Make sure that you motivate them. When they do something good, give them an applause for that. Praise them for what they have done. It may be in cash, it may be in kind, whatever way seems good for you. Go ahead and do it. I think that is all about the mistakes, common mistakes, or the biggest mistake people make as far as business strategies are concerned. Thank you. Let me give room back to the moderator.
Thank you very much, Ma, with these wonderful comments, most especially the mistakes, so that they can be able to know how to avoid it and be successful in their respective business. At this junction, I would like to invite Mrs. Oindamola Asaju to advise our intended agri-renewal students or trainees so that they can be able to listen to her and build on their business plan on these areas. So what advice do you have for our trainees?
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Sadiq. Thank you, Dr. Helen, for the insightful presentation. So the advice I have for trainees, just like Dr. Helen, I just want to buttress some of the things that she has said about discipline with finance. When you are giving the money for something, you have to follow through with that thing. Because sometimes your personal problems might just want to overtake your business, but that discipline, that financial discipline you have is what to make you use that money for the business. Because you really cannot go far. You can't go far without financial discipline, whether you are a business person or you are an employee. So it's important that you are financially disciplined. A lot of people that get wealthy, that get rich, it's not only because they had the opportunity to money or they had the access to money. It's because they were also financially disciplined. Financial discipline is very important. So when CBN is providing these loans to you, it's important that you use the loans for your businesses and ensure that they are profitable. Also, I want to advise that when you are doing your business, your market is very important. Now in agriculture, the top two challenges in agriculture are finance and market, access to market. So if CBN is solving the problem of finance for you, at least to an extent, then you also must take the bull by the horn for your market. Because when you invest in your business and there's nobody to buy from you, that means that is a waste. You waste resources, you waste money, you waste your time, in fact. So when you are going into your business, as you start, in fact, before you start, make sure you find your market. It can be in your neighborhood, it can be in your community, it can be in the neighboring states. You can just be your immediate environment or the open market that is close to you. But it's important that you secure your market. Now, if you are adding value to Gary, before you begin production, who is going to buy this Gary Plus? Who is going to buy it? You need to know who is going to buy it before you go into production, so you don't end up eating it by yourself. So that's very important. Financial discipline and have your market. I'll stop there. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much with this insightful advice. So before we round up the training sessions, Doctor, do you have anything to add?
Well, in addition to what Osaju has said, I want to add to this that business, to be a success business or entrepreneur, is not a day's job. It entails hard work. Whatever you do in life, if you really want to succeed, you must work harder. You must go an extra mile to succeed in whatever that you are doing. Especially if you find it difficult when you are starting, but don't give up. Press harder. If those successful businessmen and women, if they will sit down to recount their problems, that is, when they started, the problem they went through, their difficulties, their crisis they went through before they break even to get to a breakthrough to get to the top. It may not be up to half of what you are passing through or you are going to encounter. Please, winners never quit. If you want to succeed, make sure that you strive harder. Tell yourself, I can make it. And then in the course of your business, always, we are dealing with agro products. You are agro dealers. As we all know that agricultural products are always seasonal. Productions are always seasonal. Please diversify your source of income. If you are distributing inputs, except those that are also going into irrigated production, that is productions that has to do with irrigation system, That's where they will have the year-round production. You know, you have off season and on season. So please, during the on season, at least it's good to go. At least you will be able to make more sales. But during off season, the sales that you'll be able to make will not be much. So during that period, you can also think of other things to do. You don't need to maybe dwell only on inputs. You can also go into distribution of this farm produce. At least that one, you may not be able to get it because you can only get it in the village or in the farm gates during harvesting period. Outside that, if you can have a very big, maybe have this knowledge of storage in you, you can buy things like grains and whatever and store. At least after harvesting period, those things will go a little bit up, high, and then you start selling them. Why are you doing this? So that when you will not have people to come and buy agrochemicals or fertilizer or any other inputs, you start selling those things during this period. And that is the only way that you'll be able to have additional income, not consuming what you have sold before. By so doing, you see that you will, by the time you get this money during the harvest, during the on season now, you now use this money, buy more inputs and distribute. Before you know it, there will not be a period that you are lacking. And then for those of you in maintenance, you do the same thing. During off season, people may not really come to you for repairs of tractors or any other farm implements or machineries. You should think of any other thing that you can also repairs, maintain, and then you can engage into production of poultry equipment. That one is year-round. They don't have season for that, but they don't have really season for that. But only in most cases, they make sales during festival periods. But then everybody eats birds. Everybody eats. It's only very few people that don't eat birds, chicken, or in any form. So you now go into productions of these feeding troughs, water, all these watering can, what do they call it? Water equipment and other things. You produce them and then take it out and sell. By so doing too, you have income, you have cash inflow year round. But if you wait, I have been hearing people saying, this time, in fact, it's not good for me. People are not coming to buy. Why don't you go into other things? Use that money instead of sitting down to consume that money. At the end of it, you start looking for whom to borrow money to stock your shops or warehouses or whatever with goods. It's not right. So please think of what to do year round as far as agro dealing is concerned. And most so, be wise, like she rightly put it. Because if you keep your money and then you don't do anything, you finish it because every day you'll be hungry. Let me tell you, one thing that people will not do is to starve themselves, even when they don't have money. Is to starve themselves. They borrow to eat. Even when they don't have, they borrow to eat. So if you keep the little income you realize during the on season, and then during the off season, and then you use it to eat and finish it, you will still go into borrowing. So please be wise. Diversify your business, like I said. That is the best way of breaking through. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ma. A very big thank you to the Mrs. Oindemola Asaju for honoring our invitation to be with our trainees
Thank you very
in
much
this
for having
important
me.
agro-dealer business training. And our own Dr. Helen Iang, the South Incubation Center Coordinator, for taking us through these important topics. We really enjoy the days we spend with you, and we are happy to share your experiences with us. And for our trainees, all the recordings are available for you to access it later so that you can be able to get to know more about what has been covered during these days. So, and we will also like to say thank you once again for your time and for your experiences you have shared with us, Mrs. Asaju.
Thank you.
And we are looking for you to see you whenever we invite you so that you can be able to share more of your experiences with our students or with any others. And also for the mentorship issue that they may likely to contact you to sort out some of their issues. So thank you very much for your time and for your experiences you shared with us. We really enjoy to be with you in the first days. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much,
So,
Mrs. Asaj. Thank you for everything. Thank you for honoring our invitation. And we get to, because maybe I will organize a program here in the South that I will also use you as one of the facilitators. So please don't hesitate to come.
No
Thank
problem.
you very much. All right.
Thank you. See you next time. Thank you. Have a nice day. Thank you.
Sadiq, what is the next thing in the evening?